welcome to my Weakaura School. Here I'll teach you all I know about WeakAuras. This is lesson 1, which means that we'll start by going through the basics. This lesson is meant for beginners who haven't used WeakAuras much at all, but the lesson can also function as a warm-up for those who need a refresher course. Today I will teach you how to import WeakAuras and then explain about different types and how you can sort and manage them. We will not create new WeakAuras this lesson, instead we will use the ones I share. This way we can ease our way into understanding this add-on. There's a lot to learn, but let's start with the simple stuff, shall we? So let's begin by opening up the Weakaura menu with the command /WA. And as you can see here's the basic layout. In the left column you have all the WeakAuras you have created or imported. And in the right column or display here, we have all the options for customization on the WeakAuras. But right now I want you to click on New up here. If you want to create a new WeakAura, here is all the different types that are available to you. And to summarize what they are. So texture and progress texture is basically a simple image, and you can use WeakAuras' own images or you can import your own. But either way, the difference between the two is texture is a simple static image, while progress texture creates two layers of the same image to create this progression, like a bar that fills up and down, but it's an image instead. And then we have model aura, and this type of aura uses the in-game 3D models. So Arthas is here as a default choice, but it's also creatures and things and spell effects mostly. And then we have text aura, which is quite evidently just a line of text. And then icon auras, very commonly used to track cooldowns and buffs and debuffs and other stuff. It has very versatile use. And then progress bar is simply a rectangular shape that, a bar that fills up and down. And lastly, I want to talk about group and dynamic group. So group is not an WeakAura in and of itself. It's simply a folder where you can stack a bunch of auras in. So if you collect auras within a group, you can move them around all at the same time, as opposed to moving them individually or changing them individually. So I really recommend that you always stack your auras in a group. And the difference between a normal group and a dynamic group is in a normal group, the aura remains in the same location you place them in, at least in relation to each other, while in a dynamic group, the group will sort them, move them around for you. For example, if you're tracking buffs or something, it makes a list of them that goes up and down instead of just stacking on top of each other. Right, but now we're gonna start by importing the WeakAuras I have created for this guide, so we have something to work with. If you follow the link in the description below, you can find the export codes for the WeakAuras, and I want you to copy those codes and then go in here on New and Import, and just paste the code here. We get this little pop-up. We click on import, and thus that is imported. I have all the WeakAuras here to the side, so I'm just gonna go ahead and import all 4 of them. Import, new import. And the last one. Right. So there we go. So here we have a few different auras that I want to show you, and we're gonna start by selecting template auras over here, and then I want you to click on this plus symbol over here to open up the group. And as you can see here, we have all the different types of WeakAuras that are available to us. It's the progress aura, the texture aura, the model, and text, and the icon, and the progress bar. And if you click on the little eye over here, you can make sure so that you can see them all at the same time. But let's pretend this is a proper Weakaura you have imported. There are a few basic things I want you to learn. So first up, if you right click on an individual Weakaura, you can, for example, delete it here. You can also, if you hold Control on your keyboard and click, you can select several individual Weakauras at the same time and then delete. That is, if you want to delete several at the same time, this is a pretty good way to do it. You can also choose to, for example, right click and duplicate, like so, and we have a duplicate of the previous aura. And you can also convert it into any other type if you want. Like thus, for example. Right, so all of these auras are right now in the same group. If you ever want to move them around, you can either do so by clicking on these little arrows here. You can move them up or down. If you want them out of this particular Weakaura group, you can click on the arrow over here to ungroup it. Like so, for example. But you can also choose to click and drag them if you want to move them around. That works as well too. Right now I ungrouped our texture aura. Let's say I want it back into this group, or let's say this text aura. You have this little arrow over here beside the eye you can click on, and then click on the group you want it to be placed in. If you ever have a Weakaura that you know the name of but you can't find it because you have so many Weakauras, like I do, you can also search for it if you click up here. Let's search up our texture aura. We find it down here, and we can click on this little cross here to remove the search, and we know, oh, it's down here. We can click on the arrow again and go up to our group and click on the group to get it back in where it was, and just place them however you want them to. So that is how you manage groups. Now I want to go over all the different tabs we have available here and give you a quick summary of what you can find in each one of these tabs. So let's start with the first tab, which is display. So in the display tab you make all the cosmetic changes, and display tab is also the only tab that looks different depending on what type of aura you are currently working with. The others look pretty much the same no matter what type of aura it is. Right, so but let's go to the display tab here and click on our texture aura. Now the first thing I want you to learn is to move an individual aura. You can either do so by clicking and dragging on the X and Y scales over here, make it move around, or if you have it selected, you can simply click on its anchor and move it directly around here, and as you can see, the X and Y coordinates change accordingly. You can also choose to make it bigger. Let's say 400 times 400 by clicking and changing the settings here, or using the scale like this. Depends on how precise you want it to be. You can also do so by, if you have it selected, go to the corner of the auras box, let's say, and you can just click and drag and do it exactly which size you want, like so. And if you're kind of picky like I am, I also want like whole numbers, say like so. So it's you can do it in a really different types of ways. You can also, for example, click on color here, and if you want, you can change the color to whatever you want. You also have an alpha slider over here to change the transparency of the Weakaura. So that's 100 is full visibility. Then click OK. You can also rotate it if that's what you want. Wait, let's just like so. Rotate it however you want. But if you go a bit down, here's something called frame strata, and this is really important. Frame strata is how it layers with other elements of your interface. Let's say, should it be above your player frame, or if you click background, below your player frame. And that's a pretty handy way to, you know, sort them and layer your WeakAuras a bit how you want them. So right, so the next tab I want you to learn about is the trigger tab, and this is the most important tab of them all because no WeakAura will work without a trigger. And in future videos, this is where I'm gonna put the focus when I'm teaching you how to create your own WeakAuras. But short rundown. As for conditions, actions, and animations, these are less important tabs. Conditions are if you want to change an aura during special conditions, such as, oh, you're tracking a spell and it has charges or stacks, and if it's on a certain stack, yeah, then maybe it changes color, or it changes height, or you know, anything. And actions, you can add sound or chat messages, or yeah, things like that. And in animations, you can you can make the WeakAuras pop in and out, for example, when it fades in, instead of just, you know, disappearing. There are loads of like different special effects you can experiment with, but these three are not the most important tabs, so you know, you don't have to worry too much about these for now. Lastly, I want to go to the load tab, and this is an important tab because this dictates when and for whom the aura should activate for. You know, an aura will activate for you if it's listed. If you check your left column list here, under here, it's loaded. So these groups are loaded for me, so they will activate. If it's not in loaded in this section and below, you have to check its load setting and figure out why. For example, let's open up this again. This text aura is set for only to activate if you're on a hunter class. So if you're not a hunter, this particular aura will not work for you, or will not activate. However, the others will. And that's why this group is up here, because the groups contains WeakAuras that are loaded for me. But this one won't, so we have to change it into the monk class if we want it to work for this character. Right, but let's check out the other auras we imported earlier. If you click on example cooldown auras, here you can see a line of yeah, like your typical cooldowns, the track cooldowns, and they are made from icon auras. And if we exit the WeakAura menu, we can see them here. It's Breath of Fire, and the second one is a trinket, and this one actually pulses a red color when it's available, and if I use it like so, we can see it's cooled down. And here the third one tracks stacks of our iron skin brew, so we use it like so, we can see how many stacks we have available. And the fourth is prolonged power, so that's a potion or an item. So, right, but if we go back to the Weakaura menu with the command /WA and click on example cooldown auras, open up the group by clicking on the plus sign, we can actually see there are 2 icons for each spell, 3 even for the trinket. And this is because we can use conditions to change how Weakaura looks depending on it being on cooldown or not. That depends if that's how you want to do it. I prefer to make 2 versions of it. So if you go to trigger, here it says it should track a cooldown progress of a spell, and the spell should be Breath of Fire. This is how the Weakaura should look when it's not on cooldown, but when it goes to cooldown, like so, you can see this here, it becomes desaturated, and we can see, you know, this cooldown thing here. And you can see this on the others as well. Here we're tracking a cooldown progress of an equipment slot, and I chose our trinket, the trinket 1 slot, and if it's usable, it's gonna blink red. The red color blinking, that's made in animations tab, but you know, don't worry too much about it. The important part is we are using triggers. We have one for not being on cooldown and then changing it for being on cooldown. And because they are on the same place, on the same location, and have the same size, it looks like the color just becomes desaturated and changes, but actually the first Weakaura disappears to show the one below. So, for example, if I took the cooldown aura and, you know, just made it weirder or different, we can actually see that it's not the same same aura, it's 2 different. So that is how I usually create the effect of making a cooldown aura. So let's continue. We have a dynamic group here, and as I talked about earlier, in dynamic groups you can't like move around the specific individual Weakauras because the group sort them for you. So I have a progress bars here that track different kinds of buffs that I have, and if let's see if I can activate some of them, you can see here that the Weakaura sorts them itself. There it disappears, and Zen Meditation disappears, and Fortifying Brew pops up to the beginning. And then we also have a proc aura here, and this one is a model aura. You know, remember 3D models with Arthas, but this one used a spell instead, and this is the previous I think it was called Legacy of the Emperor. Anyway, so this pops up when I use Tiger's Lust, and it pops up here. And then we have also, let's see, we have Dampen Harm, that's one, it's just a static image that pulses a little bit. And then we have, let's see, Rushing Jade Wind. There we go. And it pops up there. This is a progress texture, and you can see the bar is running down here, so you know exactly how much you have left of its duration. But yeah, that's the basics of WeakAuras without actually going into how you create your own. So yeah, it's a lot in the beginning, I know, but if you're curious enough to explore and experiment on your own, you're gonna learn WeakAuras pretty fast. And if you want some easy exercises, like I really recommend that you import someone else's WeakAura, preferably a pretty simple one, and then you try to create it on your own. So let's say this breath of fire. Oh, you see it's an icon aura. Okay, let's go to new, create an icon, call it breath or something, whatever. And then you just, look at this aura and see what type of settings does it have in each tab, and then you try to recreate it on your own WeakAura, because that's how you learn what type of settings are important, what makes it work, and so on. So yeah, look at others' creations and just try to copy it. That's how I started to learn about WeakAuras. Yeah, but anyway, thank you for watching this first lesson, and I'll see you in the next one.